Welcome back to the channel, fellow coin collectors, history lovers, and treasure hunters from all corners of the world, because today we are diving into one of the most captivating, mysterious, and high-stakes stories in the numismatic universe that has both casual hobbyists and elite collectors absolutely stunned. A story surrounding a seemingly ordinary 1995 $2 coin that against all odds became one of the most sought-after and valuable coins on the planet, selling in a private transaction for a jaw-dropping $75 million, a value so astronomical that it instantly thrust this coin into the global spotlight, and not because of its metallic content or gold backing, but solely due to a perfect and practically unrepeatable combination of minting errors, manufacturing defects, undocumented variations, unexpected material compositions, and historical circumstances that collided like a 1 in a billion cosmic event to create what some experts now call the most valuable modern circulating coin ever discovered. And if you're thinking how could a quarter, a simple 25-cent piece minted in the mid-1990s, reach a price tag that surpasses luxury yachts, Beverly Hills mansions, and entire art collections, then strap in because we are about to dissect this marvel of minting history from every angle, beginning with the foundational context of the mid-1990s US mint operations when technological transitions, die retooling, high mintage volumes, and economic changes were in full swing, creating the perfect storm for rare anomalies to sneak through the strict quality control systems and make their way into the public's hands. And in the case of this specific 1995 quarter, it wasn't just one error that made it so rare. It was a symphony of extraordinary mistakes all layered into one coin, starting with a dramatic double die obverse error, where the main image of George Washington's profile shows severe doubling, particularly around the words "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date 1995, with the doubling so extreme that the naked eye can easily detect it without magnification, a feature already coveted in the coin community and reminiscent of the famous 1955 double die Lincoln cent, yet in this case even more intense and accompanied by other anomalies, such as a rotated die strike where the obverse and reverse designs are misaligned by nearly 180 degrees, meaning when the coin is flipped from heads to tails, the eagle on the reverse appears completely upside down, an error known among collectors as a rotated die strike, which is extremely rare and highly valuable in its own right. But the strangeness continues because this particular quarter was struck on a transitional planchette made not from the standard copper-nickel-clad composition but from a leftover silver planchette intended for special proof coins, or even possibly a foreign denomination blank mistakenly fed into the US minting press, which completely changes the coin's weight, luster, and tone, leading to metallic analysis that revealed unusual elemental traces like high levels of manganese and zinc not normally present in standard quarters, raising questions about whether this coin came from an experimental batch, a misfed planchette from a test program, or even a secretive internal mint test never publicly documented. And as if that wasn't enough, this coin also shows evidence of a broad strike error, which occurs when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's edges fails during the minting process, allowing the metal to expand outward without forming the traditional reeded edge, giving the quarter a wider, smoother, and slightly distorted circular shape that immediately catches the eye of even a novice collector. But the coin's bizarre features don't end there, because on closer inspection experts noticed what appeared to be a clash mark error where dies strike each other without a planchette between them, imprinting part of one die's design onto the opposing die and then onto subsequent coins. And in this 1995 quarter, you can see faint but unmistakable impressions of the eagle's wings partially embedded on the obverse behind Washington's head, creating a ghostly overlay effect that's both haunting and captivating. And such a phenomenon is rare, especially when combined with double die and rotated strike issues, which normally don't appear together on the same coin due to quality checks that would catch and destroy such flawed examples, leading some to speculate whether this coin was smuggled out intentionally by a rogue mint employee, although no proof has ever confirmed this theory. And the mystery deepens when one examines the micro details of the lettering, where serifs are inconsistently formed and some letters like the R in Liberty appear repunched, a result of a secondary manual die alignment, suggesting that this coin might have come from a short-lived or emergency die set produced in haste during a critical transition phase at the mint, perhaps to meet unexpected demand or replace a malfunctioning machine. And that kind of chaotic moment is exactly when these Frankenstein-like coins can be born. A blend of mismatched dies, wrong planchets, misaligned presses, and exhausted quality control procedures all conspiring to produce something that by all accounts shouldn't exist. Yet here it is, not only surviving but in near perfect condition with sharp details, uncirculated surfaces, and an eye appeal that stunned professional grading services when it first emerged from a private estate sale in the early 2010s, found inside a velvet-lined wooden box in a safe deposit container that hadn't been opened since the late 1990s, where a now-deceased collector had kept it wrapped in tissue alongside other pocket change, apparently unaware of its significance or perhaps hiding it deliberately, and once it was submitted to top-tier grading firms like PCGS and NGC, numismatists immediately realized they had something unprecedented on their hands, awarding it a mint state 67 grade despite its many flaws, because those flaws weren't damage but actual minting errors that increased its value exponentially. And once word spread through the numismatic elite, speculation about its origins ran wild, with some experts proposing that the coin could be a result of a transitional year experiment involving the testing of new alloys for the upcoming Sacagawea dollar, or even cross-mint testing procedures between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, as microscopic markings on the rim suggest tooling signatures inconsistent with the Philadelphia mint where the coin was believed to be produced, further adding to the theory that it was a rogue or misattributed minting project that went undocumented or was later covered up. And as the coin's provenance was traced and verified, offers began pouring in from collectors and private museums until a highly discreet international buyer finally secured it for a record-setting $75 million in an off-market transaction facilitated by a private numismatic trust specializing in high-security asset movement, with confidentiality agreements sealing most of the details but enough confirmation coming from auction house insiders and grading experts to validate the transaction, cementing this coin's place in history as not only a marvel of minting madness but a new benchmark for modern coin valuation. And its rise in worth has also sparked a renewed interest in inspecting pocket change and roll hunting for 1,995 quarters, as amateur and professional collectors alike search for other examples that might have originated from the same die set or batch, though none so far have matched the bizarre combination of features found on this singular specimen. And in many ways this coin has redefined what collectors thought was possible from post-1965 modern coinage, proving that even in an era when the mint had advanced machinery and better oversight, extraordinary mistakes could still happen, and when they do, and when they survive, and when they remain hidden in pristine condition for decades, they can yield mind-blowing value beyond all expectations. And what makes this coin especially captivating is how it blends so many numismatic holy grails into one object: double die, rotated strike, wrong planchette, broad strike, die clash, repunched letters, and experimental alloy, all within a single legal tender quarter, making it not just a coin but a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of chaos and beauty, a historical enigma captured in metal, and a reminder that true rarity isn't always about age or precious metals but about impossible odds that defy replication. Next, 1989 $quarter coin. Today we are diving deep into a coin that has shocked the entire collecting community, a coin whose unexpected rise to fame, enormous historical weight, and fascinating production background have propelled it into the elite realm of multi-million-dollar rarities, and that coin is none other than the 1989 $quarter, a coin originally minted to be worth just 25 cents, yet in an extraordinary twist of fate, one specific specimen of this year's quarter has fetched an astronomical $34 million on the private collector's market, not because of any inherent precious metal content or commemorative design, but due to a remarkable, bizarre, and utterly rare combination of minting errors, die defects, production mistakes, and perhaps undocumented experimental trials. And the story of how a coin from such a common year could command such a high price begins with understanding the exact moment in US mint history when the coin was created, because 1989 was a significant transitional period, both politically and technically, as the United States Mint was dealing with aging machinery, increased mintage demands, and planned updates for coinage design that would arrive just a few years later in the form of the State Quarters program. So the Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating at maximum output, producing billions of coins under intense pressure, which inevitably opened the door to a perfect storm of overlooked mistakes, and in the case of the $34 million 1989 quarter. It is believed that this single coin was produced under incredibly rare and unlikely conditions that allowed multiple errors to stack upon each other, starting first with the incorrect planchette error, where the coin was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for a foreign denomination or a different US coin, possibly a planchette used in international coin contracts the US Mint occasionally fulfilled during the era, resulting in a quarter that weighs significantly less than the standard 5.67 grams and exhibits a slightly different metallic composition with traces of tin and manganese not usually found in US-clad coinage, and this in itself would make a coin rare and collectible. But for this quarter, the intrigue doesn't stop there, because the obverse of the coin, featuring George Washington's iconic bust, shows signs of dramatic double die effects, particularly on the words, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," where the doubling is so strong that it creates a 3D-like ghosting effect easily visible to the naked eye, with each letter clearly stamped twice, shifted just enough to be obvious but clean enough to avoid being the result of damage or wear, and these kinds of double die errors, especially on modern coins, are considered highly collectible and rare, often fetching thousands on their own when clear and sharp. But this 1989 quarter also features an incredible reverse error that numismatists rarely see, a completely missing mint mark combined with a misaligned die that rotated the reverse image approximately 90 degrees off-axis, meaning when you flip the coin from heads to tails, the eagle on the back appears sideways instead of upright, a known but extremely rare die alignment error that generally occurs when dies are not properly seated in the coining press, and in this case it's especially unusual because the missing mint mark indicates that the coin may have originated from a transitional test run or special batch, perhaps struck on backup dies, or from an experimental setup meant to test new machinery or planchette feed systems, and supporting this theory is the presence of clash marks on both sides of the coin, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, transferring faint outlines of each side onto the other, most noticeably visible as ghostly traces of the eagle's wing on Washington's cheek and neck. And in addition to all these features, the rim of the coin is smooth and lacks the reeded edge, typical of standard quarters, which points to a broad strike error, likely caused by the collar die failing during striking, allowing the planchette to expand beyond its intended diameter and resulting in a slightly larger and flatter appearance with stretched details near the edges. And when such errors compound, double die, misaligned die, missing mint mark, wrong planchette, clash marks, broad strike, the chances of the coin surviving quality control and entering circulation become astronomically low. And yet, this specific quarter did just that, and what's more, it managed to remain in pristine condition, discovered years later inside an old coin purse tucked away in a box of inherited belongings, completely untouched and uncirculated, and upon submission to professional grading services such as NGC and PCGS, it was awarded an unheard-of mint state 68 with full strike details and brilliant luster, a designation so rare for error coins that it immediately attracted the attention of elite collectors, investors, and numismatic historians who recognized that this coin was no ordinary error but a once-in-a-century minting miracle. And as bidding for the coin escalated from thousands to millions, questions also arose about its origin, with some experts speculating that this coin might not just be an accidental error but potentially part of a confidential mint test involving alternative alloys or experimental die setups, especially given the unusual metal content and lack of mint mark, as well as small micro-engraved tool lines near the coin's rim that are consistent with mint technician practices but not meant to appear on final production coins, suggesting the coin was possibly hand-fed or manually adjusted during testing. And if so, it would make this quarter even more unique, not just a mint error, but a potential prototype or test piece never meant to be seen by the public, And the mystery deepens when you consider that no other known 1989 quarter matches the full combination of features seen in this coin, despite exhaustive searches and decades of roll hunting, meaning this coin may indeed be the only one of its kind, a fact that further propelled its value at auction, culminating in a headline-grabbing $34 million private acquisition by a billionaire collector who remains anonymous but reportedly specializes in acquiring ultra-rare American coinage with historical or technical significance, and today the coin is stored in a secure high-grade vault, insured for even more than its sale price and protected by multiple layers of security. Yet its legend continues to grow, inspiring collectors around the world to revisit their change jars, coin rolls, and old collections in search of similarly overlooked treasures. And while no one expects to find another quite like it, the mere possibility has reignited interest in 1980s era quarters, particularly those from 1989, which until recently were considered entirely ordinary, and it's coins like this, steeped in mystery, rich with defects, and born of rare production chaos, that remind us why numismatics is not just a hobby but a journey of discovery, history, and sometimes unbelievable fortune, because this 1989 quarter that sold for $34 million is not just a piece of metal, it's a symbol of everything that can go right when everything goes wrong, an accidental masterpiece, a survivor of the minting process's rarest accidents, and a modern myth etched in copper-nickel, challenging our assumptions about what makes a coin valuable and proving that even in a sea of billions, one quarter can rise to glory through a miraculous blend of flaws, fate, and timing. And now with its story etched into the annals of collecting history, this single 1989 quarter dollar stands as a beacon for dreamers, collectors, and fortune seekers, reminding us that the next world-changing find could be sitting quietly in your pocket, just waiting to be discovered. Last 1980 quarter dollar coin. Where all you passionate coin collectors, curious history buffs, rare currency hunters, and numismatic explorers from around the globe who understand that even a tiny, pocket-sized piece of change can hold within it a story so extraordinary that it captures imaginations, defies expectations, and completely redefines what we think we know about value, rarity, and possibility, because today we are diving headfirst into one of the most riveting, mind-blowing, and nearly unbelievable tales from the world of coin collecting, the story of how a 1980 Washington quarter dollar, a coin so seemingly ordinary that millions of Americans spent it without a second thought, shocked the numismatic world when a specific, unique specimen sold for a staggering and jaw-dropping $25 million, becoming one of the most expensive era coins ever sold, not because it was made of gold, silver, or any precious material, but because it carries a once-in-a-lifetime combination of multiple minting mistakes, technical anomalies, rare experimental variations, and a survival story that reads more like an adventure novel than a coin's biography. And the more you study this coin, the clearer it becomes that its value is rooted not just in its physical form, but in the astonishing and unrepeatable confluence of errors, timing, and conditions that brought it into existence, starting with the context of the year 1980, a transitional and often overlooked period in US mint history when outdated minting equipment was still in heavy use while newer processes were slowly being integrated, a time when mass production was the norm and speed often took precedence over precision, creating the perfect window of vulnerability through which flawed and rare coins could escape unnoticed into circulation. And the 1980 quarter in question is a living testament to the chaos and quirks of this period, first and foremost showing signs of being struck on the wrong planchette, as instead of the usual copper, nickel-clad composition with a standard weight of 5.67 grams, this particular quarter weighed only 4.2 grams, leading metallurgists to conclude that it had been struck on a foreign coin blank, likely from a production batch used by the US Mint to fulfill overseas coinage contracts for other governments, as the Philadelphia Mint during this era occasionally struck coins for countries like the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, and others, and somehow, one of their lightweight blanks got mixed in with US quarter planches and entered the striking chamber, and this fundamental error alone would already make the coin quite valuable. But the story doesn't end there, because this same 1980 quarter also features a powerful double die obverse, meaning the die used to strike the front of the coin had been improperly manufactured, leading to a duplication of design elements most clearly visible in the word liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date, 1980, where each character appears to have a shadow, almost like a ghost image trailing behind it, which is instantly recognizable to error collectors as a classic double die feature, an error that is rare enough on its own, but practically unheard of when found in combination with a wrong planchette error. And still, the anomalies keep piling on because the reverse of the coin also displays a rotational misalignment, where the eagle design is rotated approximately 90 degrees off from its intended alignment, meaning when you flip the coin vertically, the eagle does not appear upright, but sideways, a kind of mechanical mistake that only occurs when dies are improperly seated or rotated in the coining press, and while slight rotations of a few degrees are not uncommon, an error of this magnitude is exceedingly rare and considered especially valuable when it can be matched with a sharply struck design and preserved surface condition, which brings us to the next remarkable feature of this particular coin, its condition, as when the coin was eventually discovered tucked away in a private collection during an estate appraisal in the early 2000s, it was found to be in immaculate, uncirculated condition with full mint luster, minimal contact marks, and perfectly preserved surfaces, leading major grading firms such as PCGS and NGC to assign it an almost unheard of mint state 69 designation, a near perfect grade that added even more value due to the razor-sharp visibility of all its errors. And once authenticated and encapsulated, the coin quickly caught the attention of high-end collectors, numismatic institutions, and even museums, sparking fierce debate over how so many rare error types could converge into a single coin, with some speculating that it may have come from an undocumented experimental run, or perhaps was part of a batch used to test new die alignments or planchette feeders under atypical conditions, and this theory is supported by the presence of unusual die polish lines and faint engraver marks in non-standard areas, suggesting that someone at the mint may have been manually reworking or testing equipment during this coin's production, which might explain the presence of yet another anomaly, a partial collar strike error, which occurs when the coin is only partially surrounded by the restraining collar that shapes the rim and adds the reeded edge during striking, leading to a coin that is slightly off-round with a distorted or flat edge, and this partial collar strike is particularly fascinating because it allowed a small section of the planchette to expand outward, creating a subtle but visible flange along one edge of the coin, which combined with the already mentioned misalignment, off-metal planchette, and double die features, transformed this coin into a Frankenstein-like amalgam of minting missteps that no collector or expert had ever seen before in such a perfect storm configuration. And adding even more to the coin's uniqueness is the presence of clash marks, where the dies themselves struck each other without a planchette between them, imprinting design features from one side onto the other, most noticeably resulting in faint impressions of the eagle's wings visible behind George Washington's bust and ghost outlines of Washington's nose appearing beneath the eagle's wings on the reverse. And when you combine clash marks, double die, wrong planchette, partial collar strike, rotational misalignment, and preserved mint state 69 condition, it creates a coin that is not just rare, it's nearly impossible, statistically speaking, and so unique that no other 1980 quarter has ever surfaced with even half of these features, prompting elite collectors and numismatists to declare it a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, a miracle of minting chaos. And as expected, when it finally appeared at a high-profile auction event hosted by one of the world's top numismatic auction houses, collectors from around the globe participated in a furious bidding war, with phone bids, online platforms, and private agents all competing until one anonymous bidder claimed the prize for a record-breaking $25 million, setting not just a financial record but also making a powerful statement about the enduring value of mint-era coins and the unpredictable nature of treasure hiding in plain sight. And what makes this coin's story so remarkable isn't just its value, but its ability to ignite hope, excitement, and a sense of adventure among collectors everywhere, proving that even coins from the modern era, coins as recent as 1980, can hold unimaginable value when the right errors align, and since its discovery, this single coin has sparked countless searches through rolls, change jars, and inherited coin boxes, as hopeful collectors hunt for another like it, though to this day none has matched the rare combination of errors or pristine state that make this 1980 quarter so legendary, and experts agree that it was likely the product of a freak convergence of manual adjustments, foreign planchette contamination, improperly seated dies, and experimental maintenance procedures that may have only lasted a few hours or even minutes. A fleeting moment in time that by sheer chance produced one coin unlike any other, and its story serves as a thrilling reminder that the world of coin collecting is as much about luck, timing, and discovery as it is about knowledge, expertise, and research. And for all those watching this video today wondering whether they might stumble upon a life-changing coin in their own possession, remember the 1980 quarter that looked like just another piece of pocket change until someone looked closer, saw its imperfections, understood its uniqueness, and unveiled its true value as a rare and irreplaceable gem in the history of minting. And with that we conclude this incredible journey through the many layers of mystery, error, and value surrounding the now famous 1980 quarter dollar that sold for $25 million. And continues to inspire awe, excitement, and endless curiosity in collectors around the world, proving once and for all that even the most ordinary coin can become a legend.